Coco Chanel, Pearls, Perfume, and the Goldman Rubin. Chanel number 5, the little black dress, interlocking C's, leather bags with a chain strap, pearl necklaces, short hair, and blood red lipstick. These are just some of the trends that Coco Chanel pioneered in the fashion industry. Have you wondered who Coco Chanel was or if she come from a rich family? Have you heard she was a mistress and a Nazi sympathizer? Have you considered how she created the most popular fashion trends in the world? This book summary answers those questions. Coco Chanel was a passionate entrepreneur, lover, fashion designer, and an extraordinary woman. In this book, you learn about her incredible life story. I am not an orphan. Coco Chanel was born in the town of Saumur, France, in 1883. Her father was a peddler, and her mother was a housewife. The day Coco was born, her father was not around. Only representatives from the charity hospital documented her birth. No one knew how to write her true surname, Chasnel, and the mayor had misspelled it, Chanel. Coco's real name is Gabrielle, but she never used it in her adult life. She did not bother to correct her surname either. Coco did not want people to know that she came from a very poor family. Throughout her adult life, she made up stories about her complicated childhood. Coco's family traveled from town to town in a horse-drawn buggy, so her father could sell bonnets in markets and fairs. Coco had an older sister, Julia, a younger brother, Alphonse, and a younger sister, Antoinette. When Coco was 6 years old, her mother became very sick with asthma. An old uncle invited them to stay at his house in the countryside. However, once there, Coco's father became bored and restless and ran away to drink at taverns and flirt with other women. Coco's mother became worried and went away to look for their father, leaving Coco and her siblings to the care of other relatives. When she misbehaved, they would tell her that they would sell her off to gypsies. A few years later, Coco's parents came back together and had 2 more children, Lucien and Augustin. One cold, harsh winter, when Coco was 11 years old, her mother suffered from bronchitis and passed away. None of their relatives could take care of Coco and her siblings. It was decided that the boys would be brought to a farm to work, and the girls were brought to an orphanage to be raised by nuns. Coco never revealed the truth that she was an orphan. She always made up stories about her past. She told the other girls in the orphanage that her father went to America to look for business opportunities. He would come back for Coco when he became rich. This was a lie. Her father left her and her sisters for the nuns, and she never saw him again. Prayers and silence, prayers and silence. Coco despised this routine. She hated kneeling for confession with the priest. Often, she made up stories about her sins. Coco also despised wearing the same plain clothes every day. On holidays, she and her sisters were permitted to visit their grandparents in Moulins and their aunts in Varennes. Coco became close to her Aunt Louise and her Aunt Adrienne, who was only 1 year older than her. Coco and Adrienne treated each other like sisters. They shared the attic bedroom and would talk until dawn. When they were teenagers, they read romance novels together, as the chapters were published in the newspaper. Coco and Adrienne would cut out each new chapter and sew the pages together. One of their favorite stories was Two Little Vagrants, which was about poor girls who grew up to be wealthy, elegant ladies. Coco was inspired by the beautiful dresses that the characters wore. Aunt Louise was an expert seamstress. She taught Coco and Adrienne how to sew tablecloths, how to make pleats, and how to put sleeves in the fabric. Aunt Louise bought simple hats from the fair and would improve them with her decorations. Coco turned 18 in 1901. She and her older sister Julia were too old to stay in the orphanage unless they wanted to become nuns. Their grandmother enrolled Coco and Julia at Notre Dame, a school for young ladies in Moulins. Coco and Julia became charity cases once there. To pay for their boarding and education, they had to do household chores such as cleaning and helping in the kitchen. Who has seen Coco? When Coco was 20 years old, she left the boarding school and started to work as a seamstress with her Aunt Adrienne. In Moulins, they worked for a lingerie shop from Monday to Saturday and worked in the tailor's shop every Sunday. Army officers and soldiers often had their uniforms altered and mended at the tailor's shop. They would flirt with the young dressmakers and even took Coco and Adrienne out on dates. Coco was short and thin compared to other women, but the men were captivated by her unique charm. One afternoon, Coco and Adrienne were invited by a few lieutenants to a cafe in La Rotonde. The officers teased Coco to go up on stage and sing a song for them. She obliged and sang a famous French song. It was about a Parisian lady who lost her dog in the amusement park. "I've lost my poor Coco. Coco, my lovable dog. Who has seen Coco?" she sang. The officers and other men in the audience loved her voice. They asked her to sing it once more. The men shouted, "Coco, Coco!" From then on, Gabrielle became La Petite Coco, or Little Coco. Etienne Balsan was one of her admirers. He was a cavalry officer from a brigade of aristocrat gentlemen. Balsan was young, rich, and high class, and he was taken by Coco's charm. Balsan became one of her lovers and benefactors in her fashion brand. When Balsan was relieved from the army, he bought a country estate in Royaulieu. It had a vast land area, an elegant chateau, several racehorses, and stables. Balsan invited Coco to live there for several years. Coco knew that she would never be Balsan's wife. He was an aristocrat, and he would marry a woman from a high social background just like himself. After all, Coco was a seamstress with a mysterious past. This did not stop Coco from enjoying her time at the chateau. She learned how to ride horses, and she spent her days riding in the woods. Traditionally, women would wear long skirts and ride their horses seated sideways. Coco was different. She wore tailor-made riding pants and matched them with one of Balsan's collared button shirts and rode a horse like a man traditionally would. One day, Balsan took her to the Longchamp horse race course in Paris. All the high-class women there wore ball gowns and huge feathered hats, which was the fashion of Parisian ladies at the time. Coco stood out. She arrived wearing a schoolgirl outfit matched with a straw boater hat, which she had decorated with a black bow tie ribbon. As she learned from her Aunt Louise, Coco bought a simple hat from the department store and glammed it up herself. Several wealthy ladies asked her where she got her hat from. That was when Coco's business idea began to take shape. Coco enjoyed Balsan's company in the chateau, and she improved her horseback riding skills. She soon realized she didn't want to live her whole life depending on men. Finally, Coco told Balsan that she wanted to go to work. She told him about her business idea of customizing hats for women. Balsan supported her, and he offered his apartment in Paris to use as a boutique. "I was my own master." Balsan was kind to her. But Coco met another man who enchanted her heart, Arthur Boy-Capel, a polo player from England. Coco saw Capel for the first time when she went hunting with Balsan in the Pyrenees Mountains. She fell deeply in love. When it was time for Capel to return to Paris, Coco went with him. She left a note for Balsan that read, "My dear Etienne, forgive me, but I love him." With that, Coco settled in Paris. Capel brought her to events for the social elites. She lied all the time about her family background. Coco said she didn't want to reveal the truth that she was an orphan. Capel would ask her, "Coco, how can you make up so many stories?" But he understood her. Like Balsan, Capel supported Coco's business. She still used Balsan's apartment, and he recommended Coco's boutique to his elite friends. At the same time, Capel also supplied a steady source of financial capital to her. Some accounts say that Balsan and Capel became her lovers at the same time. Imagine having two rich, young, handsome men who are willing to love you and give anything for you. As many would say, Coco Chanel was a one-of-a-kind woman. She was an entrepreneur, a visionary, and a creative fashion designer. Balsan and Capel helped her a lot, but Coco's strong personality and expert skills as a seamstress cannot be ignored. Coco bought more straw hats from the department store and added her style to them. Sometimes she would add a flower, a feather, or a ribbon. Sometimes she would simply curve the brim on one side. The friends of Balsan came to her boutique and brought their wealthy friends. They all loved Coco's creations. Her hats were unique, chic, and simply elegant. They were very different from the huge hats that French women were used to wearing with their long ball gowns and corsets. Soon, Coco needed a bigger space for her boutique. Capel gave her the funds to rent Rue Cambon, a commercial space in Paris when Coco was 21. Sales were growing fast, and Coco had to hire more assistants. During the time, the leading fashion brand was the one owned by Charles Frederick Worth. He was the father of haute couture or high French fashion. His trademark was elaborate ball gowns with long trains worn over tight corsets. Corsets made a woman's body appear more attractive. However, they were very uncomfortable to wear. Parisian ladies endured this fashion hype for many years. Coco Chanel came to change all of that. Coco loved to wear couples' clothes. She often explored his closet to try on his polo shirts, blazers, and loose sweaters. They smelled like Capo, and they felt very comfortable on her skin. Coco felt more powerful and free when wearing men's clothes. She began transforming Capel's outfits by giving them a feminine twist. One evening, Coco and Capel attended a country wedding-themed costume party. If you were a Parisian lady living at the time, would you ever have thought of wearing pants? That's exactly what Coco did. While all the ladies at the party were wearing long ball gowns, Coco decided to dress up as the best man at the wedding. She bought a white shirt, trousers, a dark blazer, and ankle boots. The outfit suited her slim body very well. Coco looked like a playful, mischievous tomboy. Her wealthy, loyal customers urged her to expand her business to include clothes. The Parisian ladies all wanted to dress freely and comfortably at Coco. In 1913, Capel encouraged Coco to open another shop in the seaside resort of Deauville. It was where the elites of Paris spent their summers. In front of the store, Coco put out a huge sign with her name on it. Word about the trendy new boutique spread in Deauville. Coco designed feminine versions of polo shirts, jersey sweaters, knit jackets, and sailor blouses. She matched them with ankle-length or knee-length skirts. The fabrics she chose were loose, soft, and stretchable, which looked very appealing on a woman's slender body. Even when World War I ignited in 1914, the business of Coco Chanel boomed. The elites of Paris fled to Deauville, and they flocked Coco's store. She opened a new shop in Biarritz, near the Spanish border. It was a great business move because Spain was a neutral country during the war. The royal family of Spain became Coco's customers. Coco owned 3 shops during World War I. She occupied Paris, Deauville, and Biarritz. Black wipes out everything. In 1918, Keppel broke her heart. He got married to an English lady who came from a wealthy aristocrat family. Coco and Keppel still saw each other, and he often visited in her villa in Garches. One evening, Keppel left Coco's villa in his Rolls-Royce. He was expected at his sister's place in Cannes. While on the road, one of the tires exploded. The car flipped and burst into flames. Keppel died in that terrible accident. No one saw Coco cry, but it is evident that Capel's death devastated her. She said, "In 1919, I woke up famous, but I also lost everything." Around the same time, Chanel launched the popular red heart-shaped earrings. They were made of gold with rhinestones around the edges. In the middle of the red heart was a symbol, 2 interlocking C's. It represented the names Chanel and Capel. Coco plunged herself into her work as a tribute to Capel. She focused all her energy on her 3 boutiques. Capel left most of his properties to his wife and baby daughter. To Coco, he left a huge sum of money. She used it to move her boutique to a 5-story building in Paris. Soon, Coco came up with yet another innovation. It was the little black dress. One evening, Coco went to a show at the Paris Opera House. She observed the outfits that the ladies wore from her premiere box. "All those colors shocked me. Those greens, reds, electric blues made me feel ill," Coco recalled. The floral and butterfly-printed dresses were popularized by Coco's rival, the designer Paul Poiret. "All these colors are terrible. I'm going to dress all these women in black," Coco told her seatmates that night. Traditionally in France, black was only worn when mourning. In 1920, Coco Chanel imposed black on all the ladies. She used wool and crepe fabrics. She designed sweatshirts with round necks and close-fitting sleeves and matched them with knee-length skirts. Coco made many different types of little black dresses. They were plain black, cozy, and light to wear. Sometimes she would add bows on the shoulders or a white fabric camellia flower on the chest. Other styles included sleeveless blouses and hooded necklines. In 1926, Coco Chanel invaded America. Vogue magazine renamed the little black dress as the Ford dress. The Model T car, created by Henry Ford, was booming in America at the time. Henry Ford insisted that the car come in only one color, black. Coco's little black dress became a massive success in America, just like Ford's Model T did. Soon enough, The famous leading ladies of Hollywood all wore the little black dress, lead them by the nose. Coco Chanel created another breakthrough, Perfume Chanel No. 5. Every day, Coco went to work smelling like the lye soap that the nuns made them use in the orphanage. She loved perfume, and she would put a little on her wrists and behind her ears. Her rival Paul Poiret and the other designers sold perfumes with a distinct floral scent. They smelled of roses, jasmines, or lilies. When Coco arrived at the laboratory of Ernest Beau in Grasse, she announced that she wanted none of those floral perfumes. She wanted a whole new scent, something that would be uniquely Chanel. Beau experimented with aldehydes and other chemical compounds. Coco went to his lab every day to test out his new concoctions. Beau presented her with 2 series of perfumes. One of them he labeled from 1 to 5, and the other from 20 to 24. Coco was delighted with bottle number 5. She said 5 had always been her lucky number. The scent was unlike any other perfume she had smelled before. Coco took up the bottle and wrote 5 on it. "Now, I will sell this," she said. Coco gave samples of the perfume to her loyal clients. She told her sales ladies to spray it all around her boutiques. Most perfumes sold at the time had romantic names, and they came in floral painted bottles. Coco chose the simple name Chanel No. 5, and she packaged it in a plain clear bottle. Simple yet sophisticated. There was nothing on the bottle except the small label on top. Coco wanted people to see the gold liquid that was in the bottle. Chanel No. 5 became a tremendous success. It was as though Coco had won the lottery. The women of France became addicted to her scent. Chanel No. 5 remains a best-selling top-of-the-line perfume to this day. A very bad dead person. World War II began in 1939. Germany invaded Poland, and then France and Great Britain declared war on Germany. Like every other business, Coco Chanel had a difficult time. She was 57 years old and was a well-established fashion designer. Coco dated a younger man named Baron Hans Gunther von Dinklage, who was a German intelligence officer. This led people to accuse Coco of being a Nazi sympathizer. She defended Baron. "He is not a German. His mother was English," Coco told people. When the war was over, Coco Chanel slowly brought her fashion brand back to life. Even though her 80s, she competed strongly against younger designers, such as Christian Dior and Yves Saint Laurent. In 1955, Coco launched her trademark leather shoulder bag with a chain strap. She called it the 2.55. Even now, the elegant bag remains a huge fashion trend. Coco's designs were copied and imitated by other designers. Even when she got arthritis, she did not retire from work. Coco kept on designing and creating with her scissors. In January 1971, Coco was busy thinking about her new collection. She was 88 years old. "I will be working tomorrow," Coco told her assistant at the end of a long workday. Coco Chanel didn't make it to work the next day. She died that evening in her elegant home. Many famous people and the press attended her funeral service. The supermodels for Chanel stood in front of her white flowered casket. They were all dressed in Coco's latest collection. "Once I am buried, I would grow restless, and I would want to go back to Earth and start all over again," Coco said. "I would make a very bad dead person." Conclusion. In this book, the reader learned about the life and legend of Coco Chanel. Her tough childhood and poor family background were brought to attention. The reader learned about her rise to success, from an ordinary seamstress to a highly respected fashion designer. The book also talked about Coco's devoted lovers and benefactors, Etienne Balsan and Arthur Capel. The book outlines her trademark designs, from the decorated hats to the boyish outfits, the little black dress, and Chanel No. 5. Coco Chanel is still a world-class luxury fashion brand. Her life story proves that anyone can succeed, even a poor orphan girl from the province. Coco had perseverance, passion, practice, and was a hard worker. Most of all, Coco believed in herself. Some people call her a liar, an opportunist, and a Nazi sympathizer. It cannot be denied that Coco Chanel was one of the strongest and most powerful women in history. Her name was known throughout the decades, and it will still be known for many years to come.